The Golden State Warriors continue to cast a wide net ahead of the 2026 NBA draft. On Tuesday, the organization brought in 6 more prospects for individual workouts, and one name stood out from the rest. Onyenso, the center out of Virginia, who has been turning heads with his freakish physical profile and elite shot-blocking instincts. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do, and honestly, the best way to back this content up because every single like pushes us further. So hit it now. Onyenso measured 6 feet 11 inches tall at the NBA combined, with a wingspan of 7 feet 4.75 inches. Among all players who remain committed to the 2026 draft class, that wingspan ranks 5th largest. For a franchise that has historically valued length and defensive versatility up front, those measurements alone were enough to get Golden State's attention. But what truly separates Onyenso from other big man prospects in this class is his ability to protect the rim at an elite level while barely logging starter minutes. During the 2025-26 season at Virginia, the Nigerian center averaged 2.9 block shots per game, a total that ranks second in the entire country. What makes that number even more remarkable is the context. He achieved it in just 18.6 minutes per night. That production per minute rate in shot blocking is almost unheard of at the college level and signals a player whose impact on the defensive end could translate quickly to the NBA. The offensive side of his game is a different story. Onyenso averaged only 6.5 points and 4.9 rebounds per game in his senior season at Virginia, numbers that reflect a player who is still raw and far from polished as a scorer or ball handler. He is not someone who will create his own shot or function as a focal point of an offense. His value is almost entirely tied to what he can do without the ball, setting screens, catching lobs, and most importantly, altering shots in the paint. Despite those offensive limitations, analysts believe Onyenso could still carve out a meaningful NBA career if placed in the right system. For a team like the Warriors, who have traditionally used their centers as floor spacers to complement Stephen Curry's gravity warping effect on defenses, the question becomes whether his rim protection upside is worth the offensive trade-off. According to Bleacher Report analyst Jonathan Wasserman, Onyenso is ranked 34th in the 2026 draft class. That projection creates a logistical challenge for Golden State. The Warriors currently hold picks 11 and 54, and at 34th in the rankings, Onyenso is not expected to fall anywhere close to pick 54. He is also arguably not refined enough offensively to justify using the 11th selection on him when there are more well-rounded prospects available at that slot. That means the Warriors would need to acquire an additional pick somewhere in the range of 30 to 42 to realistically land Onyenso. One possible avenue involved the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in the unusual position of holding 3 picks in this draft at 12, 17, and 37. It is extremely unlikely they keep all 3. Golden State could explore packaging a combination of future second-round picks, perhaps the 2032 and 2033 selections, to pry the 37th pick away from OKC. Another option sits in San Antonio. The Spurs currently hold 4 picks, 20, 35, 42, and 44. That level of draft capital is difficult for any front office to manage efficiently, and the Spurs might be receptive to a deal involving a similar future pick package in exchange for their 35th selection. Beyond the Onyenso angle specifically, this illustrates a broader strategic need for the Warriors heading into draft night. General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. has repeatedly signaled that Golden State needs 2 impactful players from a 2026 class. Getting only 1 plus the 54th pick, which falls in an area of this draft where there is a notable drop-off in prospect quality, may not be enough to meaningfully reshape the roster. Trading for an additional first or late first pick has become an organizational priority. The draft on June 23rd and 24th will also provide critical early clues about the Warriors' free agency strategy. The legal tampering period does not open until June 30th. So what Golden State does in the draft will signal what positions they plan to address in free agency, in which roster spots are already spoken for. The center rotation entering 2026-27 is filled with uncertainty. Kristaps Porzingis is an unrestricted free agent. Al Horford holds a player option. Quentin Post enters restricted free agency. Charles Bassey is also an unrestricted free agent. None of these players is guaranteed to return. The Warriors are expected to carry 3 centers next season. If they draft Onyenso, it would almost certainly mean one of those veterans walks. The most likely outcome is Golden State re-signs Porzingis. From there, the decision involving Horford or Post would hinge on what the veteran big man chooses to do with his option. If Horford opts out or steps away from basketball, the Warriors would make a push to keep Post, who showed real promise during the 2025-26 season. Onyenso remains a long shot to end up in a Warriors uniform, but his workout shows the franchise is doing its homework and leaving no stone unturned as it looks to build the next chapter of Golden State basketball. The last time the Golden State Warriors held a top 11 pick in the NBA draft, they selected Jonathan Kuminga 7th overall in 2021. 5 years later, as they prepare to use the 11th pick in the 2026 draft, the question facing general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. is straightforward. How do you avoid making the same mistake twice? Kuminga was not a complete bust in Golden State. He showed flashes of athleticism and scoring ability throughout his tenure with the Warriors and was eventually traded to Atlanta earlier this season. But his time in San Francisco never reached the level the franchise hoped for when they invested a top 10 pick in him. The underlying reasons for that disconnect offer a useful guide for evaluating this year's wing prospects. Kuminga's limitations were clear, even before the Warriors drafted him. In his brief stint with the G League Ignite, he averaged 15.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 2.7 assists while committing 2.6 turnovers per game. His efficiency numbers were alarming, just 38.7% shooting from the field, 24.6% from three-point range, and 62.5% from the free throw line. He was 18 years old at the time, which provided cover for the poor numbers, but the red flags about his shooting mechanics and feel for the game were real. The Warriors fell in love with his size, strength, and athleticism, and overlooked the signs that pointed to a player who might never develop the shooting or decision-making that Steve Kerr's system demands. Now, as the Warriors sift through 2026 wing prospects to find their best option at pick 11, those same warning signs should serve as a filter. Head coach Steve Kerr runs an offense built on ball movement, off-ball activity, and reliable shooting from multiple positions. A player who struggles to shoot efficiently or make quick, sound decisions with the ball is going to have a hard time thriving in that environment, regardless of physical tools. So how do the current wing candidates compare to what Kuminga looked like entering the 2021 draft? The statistical breakdown is revealing. Nate Ament, a 6', 9.54 from Tennessee, is a prospect most similar to Kuminga across the key efficiency metrics. Ament averaged 16.7 points with a 45.2 effective field goal percentage and a 2.3 to 2.3 assist-to-turnover ratio in college. Like Kuminga, his inside scoring is limited. He converted just 43% of his two-point attempts, a troubling number that reflects struggles as both a ball handler and a finisher. His three-point mechanics are cleaner than Kuminga's were, and he shot 33.3% from deep in college. But the overall offensive profile is too similar to what the Warriors already got burned by to justify the pick. Kareem Lopez, who played in the NBL, is another name in the mix. At 6 feet 8.25 inches, he offers real positional size at the wing and a 55.7 effective field goal percentage. He is not as explosive athletically as Kuminga, and he also tends to rely on interior positioning rather than perimeter creation. His assist-to-turnover ratio of 2.0 to 1.5, however, shows better decision-making and feel for the game. Cameron Carr out of college brings a 6 foot, 4.5 frame with a scoring average of 18.9 points per game and a 58.2 effective field goal percentage. His athleticism and body type are the closest comparisons to Kuminga among this group. The key difference is his three-point shooting. Carr connected on 37.4% of his attempts from deep, a number that is meaningfully better than Kuminga's college-level production and suggests less risk on that front. Then there is Yaxel Lendeborg. At 6 feet 8.75 inches, he has the best statistical profile of the bunch. 15.1 points, a 60.2 effective field goal percentage, and an exceptional 3.2 to 1.1 assist-to-turnover ratio. He is essentially the opposite of what Kuminga was, a player with tremendous feel, intelligence, and efficiency. The concern with Lendeborg is not his game. It is his age. At 23, he is old for a draft prospect, raising legitimate questions about whether what scouts see is a ceiling rather than a floor still developing upward. Finally, Burries, at 6 feet 3.75 inches, is the shortest of the group, but offers a kind of shooting mechanics and decision-making that Kuminga never demonstrated. He converted 57.2% of his shots on an effective basis and showed an assisted turnover rate of 2.4 to 1.5, combined with solid athleticism from his time at Arizona. The conclusion for the Warriors front office is pointed. The one prospect they must pass on is Ament. His scoring efficiency inside the arc is problematic, and his overall offensive profile mirrors the type of player Golden State has already proven cannot thrive in Steve Kerr's system. The Warriors need a wing who can shoot reliably off the catch, make fast decisions without the ball, and put pressure on defenses when Curry is off the floor. The 2026 draft offers real options who fit that description. Ament is not one of them, and the ghost of the Kuminga selection should be reminder enough. With the 2026 NBA draft less than 3 weeks away, the Golden State Warriors are narrowing their list of targets for the 11th overall pick. According to a report from Clutch Points analyst Brett Siegel, the franchise has been actively evaluating a specific group of prospects since the start of the calendar year, gathering intelligence and running workouts on players, including Burries, Cameron Carr, Kareem Lopez, Yaxel Lendeborg, Morris Johnson Jr., Hannes Steinbach, Nate Ament, and Darius Acuff Jr. Of everyone on that list, one name stands out not just for his draft appeal, but for what selecting could mean for the current roster. Burries, the Arizona guard who bears a striking physical resemblance to one of Golden State's most reliable contributors, Brandon Podziemski. The similarities between the two players are more than surface level. At the NBA combined, both Burries and Podziemski measured exactly 6 feet, 3.75 inches tall. Their wingspans are nearly identical, with Podziemski at 6 feet 5.5 inches and Burries at 6 feet 6 inches. Their vertical leap numbers are also close, with Podziemski registering 39.0 inches and Burries at 38.5 inches. On paper, they are essentially the same athlete. The differences, however, are meaningful. Burries has a more natural-looking three-point shooting stroke, a quality that scouts consider difficult to develop at the professional level. He also showed superior agility during combine drills, a trait that projects him as someone capable of defending quicker, more ball-dominant guards in the NBA. Podziemski, by contrast, has typically been deployed by the Warriors against bigger offensive players who lack ball-handling skills, a reflection of the coaching staff's confidence in his rebounding, but perhaps a sign of lingering concerns about his ability to stay in front of quicker perimeter players. Where Podziemski clearly has an edge is on the boards. During his sophomore season at Santa Clara, he averaged a remarkable 8.8 rebounds per game, a number that still defines his identity as an off-ball contributor who can clean up misses against bigger opponents. Burries is a capable rebounder, but he is better suited defensively against wings with ball-handling skills, not necessarily bigger forwards. Despite having nearly the same athletic blueprint, the two players might actually complement each other rather than directly compete. Their defensive assignment profiles would differ, and their offensive skill sets, while similarly limited in terms of primary creation, could coexist in certain lineup combinations. That said, the Warriors have real needs for ball-handling depth beyond Stephen Curry, and Curry's supporting cast heading into next season will need to be constructed carefully, especially while Jimmy Butler's return timeline from injury remains uncertain. If the Warriors select Burries at pick 11, the natural follow-up question is what happens to Podziemski? Golden State reportedly values Pods highly. He was the only Warrior to appear in every single game during the 2025-26 season, an Iron Man feat that speaks to both his durability and his standing within the organization. He has also expressed interest in signing an extension to stay in the Bay Area long term. But front offices have to make hard decisions, and this could be one of them. If Burries is on the board at 11, and the Warriors believe he is the best available player, they may have to confront the reality that carrying both Burries and Podziemski on the roster is redundant. The smarter play in that scenario might be to offer Podziemski in a trade targeting a second first-round pick in the 12 to 18 range. Among current roster players, Podziemski is the one most likely to fetch that kind of return. The Oklahoma City Thunder hold picks 12 and 17. The Charlotte Hornets have picks 14 and 18. Both teams might prefer acquiring a proven young player over burning 2 rookie slots in the same draft. Podziemski, entering restricted free agency eligibility and coming off a full 82-game season, would be an attractive option for a franchise looking to add reliable depth without giving up future assets. The ideal complementary target in that scenario, if the Warriors can land a pick in that range, would be Lendeborg at 6 feet 8.75 inches, who provides the size and versatility the franchise has been seeking at the wing. If Lendeborg is gone by the time Golden State picks again, Lopez at 6 feet 8.25 inches represents a similar archetype and remains a viable fallback. None of this is without risk. Trading Podziemski would mean losing a player who has earned the staff's trust and who thrives within the Warriors' culture. But if Mike Dunleavy Jr. is convinced that both Burries and a second first-round target can accelerate the team's rebuild alongside Curry, the calculus may ultimately favor letting Pods go in exchange for a second shot at reshaping the roster in one off-season move. The draft is June 23rd. The clock is ticking.